Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Today we're going to talk about the value of uncovering unspoken needs. So first I'd like to address all the married men. Has this ever happened to you? So you notice your wife being unusually quiet and withdrawn, and you ask her, "Hey, is everything okay?" And she tentatively says, yes. And you take her at face value, even though her actions aren't really lining up with her words. Then one thing leads to another. And the next thing you know, you're sleeping on the couch with the short blanket and the dog. People don't always say what they mean or mean what they say. Here's another one. Your client comes to you and says, "I just want it simple. I just want simple." Okay, what does that mean? Black and white? That's pretty simple to me. Maybe less copy, more white space? That seems simple. What if they think simplifying the design will make it simple for them, when actually what they really need is a process to help them automate their orders, and that will make it simple for them. People don't always know what they really want. They don't really know what they want, and they don't know how to voice it. Sometimes people voice a specific desire when under the surface there's actually an unspoken need that's calling to be met. Let's take a look at this. Everybody has core needs. And this goes across all cultures, male, female. We all have core needs, and here's three of them. We have the need to be and feel respected. We have the need to be and feel heard. And we have the need to be and feel valued. And there's a whole lot more here. And what I'd like you to do is, if you can think of one, go ahead and put it in the chat box right now. So let me ask you this. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word salesman? First thing that pops into your head, salesman. This is what comes into my mind when I think about a salesman. So I've never really thought of myself as a salesman, but actually as an entrepreneur, aren't we all salespeople or salesmen? And isn't it then our responsibility as an honest salesperson to uncover what our customers or clients really need, not just what they say or what they want? And what really got me thinking about this, let me stop the share here. What really got me thinking about this was a conversation I had with a client of mine in November. We'd been working together exactly 1 year. And at the time, I was just beginning to rework my business and my business model, and I started the process of rebranding. And since she was hitting all of the check boxes for my ideal client, I decided to ask her some questions about the value that I brought to her. And I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I did not expect her to say what she did say. And she said this to me. She said, "Kara, you saved me. You saved my business." Full disclosure here, my first thought was, are you talking to me? I mean, I'm being fully transparent here. I really didn't know what I had done. I mean, that was my thought. What the heck did I do? Okay, so hear me out here. Technically speaking, yes, sure. Site design, web development, marketing plan. But there were some needs here that got met that went way beyond plugin updates and proper meta descriptions. So honestly, I just couldn't let this sit. So I decided to spend some time reflecting, meditating, thinking about this, and doing a little reverse engineering. And so today we're going to talk about what I discovered. Let's go back here to share. When uncovering hidden needs, be somebody who asks the right questions. So before I'd have a conversation with her, a scheduled conversation, what I would do is I would jot down questions. And these are questions that I knew that would dig deeper and go beyond just one-word responses. I kept my questions open, friendly, and specific to make sure I would receive the information that would give me complete clarity on what her vision was on a given topic. So having been in sales for 50 years, I asked Bill Pernot if he wouldn't mind sharing some valuable nuggets of wisdom on the subject of asking the right questions. Bill, it's all you. Bill on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, first of all, 50 years is a long time to sell. I had forgotten that I've been selling that long.
Well, you told me that, so that's the only reason I brought that
Well, you weren't
up.
supposed to kiss and tell.
I'm sorry. It's better than dog years. Better than dog years.
So what I'd like to do is to build on all three of the core needs that Kara just talked about. One of the things that we tend to forget is that we tend to talk too much. And I would encourage you to talk about 20% of the time and engage your clients in a conversation about 80% of the time. So we tend to talk, we almost do that in reverse. So one of the fundamental principles you'll see on the screen here is that we really need to be aware that people are more interested in making the decision to buy because we appeal to their emotions. So when we talk about appealing to their emotions, Kara, could you go back with one?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. So when we talk about appealing to their emotions, you I'm sure have heard the term, lead with benefits and support with features. So features do not appeal to people's emotions. Benefits do. So that's the thinking behind leading with benefits and then supporting it with features. So when we ask relevant, well thought out questions, we engage our prospects in a discussion that prevents buying resistance, very important, and allows the prospect to come to their own conclusion without feeling pressure or manipulated. Kara, you mentioned earlier the whole idea of that snake oil salesperson. That's typically because we are trying to sell people stuff. I doubt if there's anybody on the call here today that wants to be sold, that you really love to be sold. And so how do you do that? You engage people in the conversation. Thank you, Kara. If you go to that next slide. So ego questions are simply making a conscious choice about which questions to ask a prospect and do that in a sales cycle way. So if you're on a call with a prospect that you've just met, this process typically includes all three steps: engaging, genuine interest, and opportunities. It's important for you to realize that we earn the right to ask about the prospect's business by first earning their trust. Probably the major mistake that people make in selling is they think they're going to get somebody to take an order. In the training that we used to do when I was with U.S. Food Service, we really drilled our salespeople that the purpose of the initial call was to get another appointment, not to get an order, right? And so that happens to us all the time. We're so interested in, we got to get the order, No, what you need is, you don't want to get to know. What you do is you really just want to get to the next meeting. You can roll that slide for me, Kara. So engage questions, generally speaking, show interest and enthusiasm on your part by asking questions about the customer's persona, the customer's industry, or trends in the industry. Go ahead, you can go to the next. So genuine interest questions probe into the challenges or issues of your prospect's customer or the prospect's business. One of the things that we frequently don't do a very good job preparing is thinking about the prospect's customer, because frankly, if we can help them grow their business, they'll be interested in doing more business with us. Next slide. So opportunities questions are a deeper dive into the prospect's readiness to explore solutions to the opportunities previously surfaced in the first two steps. Bear in mind that you have to be watching for buying signals that will tell you how quickly you should go through all three of these stages. Otherwise, you will get to know quickly. The purpose of the initial call is to get another appointment, not to sell something. So that's it, Kara. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to tap into the brilliance here in our virtual room. So if anybody has an example of a question that you asked that turned your fail into a sale, please put it in the chat box. So if you have an example of a question that turned a fail into a sale, please share that in the chat box with us. I do want to say how thankful I am to be a part of the E4E community. I'm not naturally taken by networking events in general, but this group of people is exceptional. And one of the first friendly faces I met when I started attending was Dale Furtwängler. Bill describes that talking to Dale is like eating creamy peanut butter. And Bill, I have to say, I agree 100%. Dale is a skilled communicator, especially in the art of listening. And this brings me to my second point here, second discovery. And that is be an active listener. So I remember that specifically from May to August with this client, I spent a bulk of that time just listening. I didn't really offer advice or come up with any profound answers that I recall either. I just listened and learned and cataloged what I heard. And one aspect of active listening is called paraphrasing. And since this is what gives Dale his creamy center, he's going to share his wisdom on this subject. Dale, you are up.
Interestingly, creamy peanut butter is one of my favorite foods, so I didn't realize it was being reflected in that way. But anyway, yeah, the paraphrasing is basically just restating what somebody said. And here's some typical phrases that we use to make sure that we do understand what they're saying. And that's really, in my mind, the purpose of paraphrasing, is to make sure that I'm understanding what it is that they're saying. And it's so essential that I want to get it done early in the process. So if I've misinterpreted what they're saying, then I'm going to be looking for clarification from them. That's going to help me understand what it is that they're trying to achieve. So if you will, Kara, go ahead and advance it. So we're looking at understanding is our primary purpose, and then clarification if I've misinterpreted. But that's not the only use of clarification. There are times when what the person has communicated to me was done in rather vague language, and that indicates to me that they don't have a clear enough understanding of what it is that they're trying to accomplish or the challenge that they're facing. And so my rephrasing in those situations is to add more precise language to the description of what they just said in hopes that they'll get greater clarity about what it is they're trying to accomplish or what challenge they're facing. But excuse me, one of the things that happens, whether I hit it the first time and in my paraphrasing I saying exactly what they meant, or whether it's through the clarification process, the first thing that we both experience is relief. They're relieved to know that I understand what they're saying. And I'm relieved to know that I understood what they said, so that I know that what I'm going to be saying going forward is going to be relevant and beneficial to them. And immediately on the heels of relief comes trust. When people feel like they've been heard and understood, they trust you a lot more. And that's in part because, as in paraphrasing, there's no judgment. So that when I paraphrase what they're saying, I'm just feeding back the same information they gave me, just in a different form. But it solidifies my understanding, but it also generates trust on their part, because there was no judgment in my communication. So between the fact that they feel relieved that I understand them, that I heard them, and that there was no judgment in anything that I said, gives them the ability to trust me. And through that, we create a bond. And that bond is created for primarily those two reasons. One is that the person feels comfortable. They know I care enough to have listened and understood what they said. And they also realize that there's no judgment, that I'm not judging what they said at all. So there's a bond that's being created there. And that bond then results in openness, which means that they're going to be more candid with me as we go forward, because I'm not judging them. Now, go back, if you will, Carol. We're not ready for those yet. But the bond that we create helps them become more candid in telling me, so they'll reveal their vulnerabilities a lot more readily as part of that process. But it also opens their minds to new ideas, which then takes us to the next element, which is influence. So when we've created that bond and that trust is there, then that opens the door to me to have greater influence in helping them achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve, or to overcome whatever challenge they're facing at that point. So with influence, then I have a better opportunity. The probability of me being able to help them goes up dramatically. And then that brings us to the final stage, which is results. And here, we're going to either find a way for them to accelerate the achievement of what they're trying to achieve, or we're going to help them overcome a challenge they're facing more quickly. And it reinforces the caring that I'm demonstrating throughout this process, which again just intensifies the bond that we've created, strengthens it, and lays the foundation for a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship. So that's why I use paraphrasing so frequently. And Kara, I want to thank you for inviting me to do this segment, because in the past I used paraphrasing simply because I knew it worked. Going forward, I'll be using it because now I know why it works. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So one of the things that I miss about being in the meetings, besides being face-to-face with you, Dale, is Will's app. I know we're getting close on time here. I'm going to wrap it up here, but it's the app proved. And I want to show you really quick, just speaking of listening, about an app. You can get it on an iPhone or you can get it on an Android. I know I'm going to show you on an iPhone here. It will help improve your listening skills. And basically on an iPhone, you press these two buttons and this comes up. Can you see that? And then you swipe it turns off your iPhone and then you set it down. That will improve your listening skills by 100%. So back to the story. In September of this year, the client and I met to further discuss the fourth quarter marketing plan. And after meeting, we casually walked around the craft expo in St. Charles for about 45 minutes. And in a follow-up conversation, she mentioned that she couldn't remember laughing, the last time she laughed so much. And she said she also felt like she was finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Which brings me to my third point. I'm not going to share a slide. I'm just going to tell you, it's basically be your authentic self. I let my guard down, and as a result, so did she. Being real brings real results. And so just a quick fast forward here. It's been about 18 months since I started working with this client. In January, we set a goal to double her sales and get her to the $500,000 mark in her sales by the end of the year. And I'm excited and thrilled to report that we have surpassed that goal, and we are on track to break $1 million this year.
Wow.
Really, really exciting. So I just want to let you know that although we're living in uncertain times, you know, Mary talked about it, Glenda talked about, we're all talking about it. We feel a little isolated and far from what we knew as normal just a couple months ago. It's important more than ever now that we keep the lines of communication open. And by asking strategic questions, listening actively, and showing up authentically, we can confidently stand in the face of this new normal and expect to grow, thrive, and succeed. Oh, and for all you married men, who knows, at the end of the day, this just might help you avoid a night on the couch with a short blanket and a smelly dog.